7 years. That's how long I loved Adrian Taylor. 7 years of building a life, trusting him with my heart, believing that no matter what happened, I was his choice. I was his family. I was wrong. The day of the explosion should have been the end of me. I remember the pain, the blood, the way they rushed me toward the operating room. But I wasn't alone. Right beside me, on another bed, was Madison Lee, the fragile little thing with the heart condition. The one he treated like she was too delicate to breathe without his permission. I should have seen it then. I should have known. I remember his hands, the way they trembled as they pushed me through the doors. Not because he was scared for me, but because he knew exactly what he was about to do. He didn't save me that day. He killed me. And when I was gone, when my body finally went cold, he forged the records. He took my heart, the heart I trusted him to protect, and gave it to her. I watched it all from somewhere between life and death. I saw her open her eyes, crying like she had just been given the world. I heard her whisper yes when he dropped to one knee with the cameras flashing all around them. The perfect love story, the miracle they all celebrated. But it wasn't a miracle, it was murder. And just when I thought that was the end of me, I woke up. Cold air burned my lungs, the lights above me flickered. I heard his voice, Adrian, telling the anesthesiologist to double the dose, to hurry and knock me out. And in that moment, I knew I had lived this before, but somehow, this time, I had come back. I wasn't dead. Not yet. I could feel my body trembling, but I forced myself to move. I bit down on the pain until I could breathe through it. I opened my eyes and locked onto his face. His shock was instant. He wasn't expecting me to fight. Sarah, his voice cracked, and for a split second, I saw it. The fear, the panic. But then he masked it, just like always. Soft words, gentle touches, lies. I'm here, I've got you, he whispered, leaning down like he cared. You're safe with me, I'll take care of you. And for a moment, God help me, for a moment I wanted to believe him again. But I knew better now. I knew the truth. So I gathered every ounce of strength I had left and spoke clearly, louder than I thought I could manage. I want to be transferred to another hospital. His face changed instantly. The mask cracked. He froze, staring at me like I had just broken some unwritten rule. Sarah, what are you saying? The surgery's starting. Please, don't make this harder. I didn't flinch. I'll say it again. My body, my choice. I want to be transferred. Now. The anesthesiologist tried to speak, calling me Miss Diaz, reminding me that Adrian was my husband, the director of this hospital, that I was in safe hands. I almost laughed at the absurdity. That's exactly why I'm not safe, I snapped back. Because if he loses control, I'm the one who pays the price. The room fell silent. No one dared move. No one dared breathe. Then Adrian broke. His hand gripped my shoulder hard enough to make me wince. His voice dropped, low and sharp. There's no time. You're bleeding out. You won't survive if you leave this room. He leaned in closer, his breath cold against my skin. I brought you here first, even before her. I moved you ahead of Madison. You should be grateful. Grateful, I wanted to scream, to rip the words out of his mouth, but I didn't. I just stared at him, feeling the ice settle in my veins. Because now I knew. It was never about love. It was never about me. It was always about her. About the heart he needed to keep her alive. I shoved his hand off me, my voice shaking but steady. Don't touch me. I remembered the papers I had signed. The donor agreement. I thought I was doing something good. Something selfless. I never imagined I was handing him the knife to stab me in the back. And now, she's waiting. Madison. She's in the next room. Waiting for my heart again. But this time, she's not getting it. Adrian didn't need to say a word. One quick glance toward the anesthesiologist was all it took. The man nodded, almost like it was rehearsed, and started walking toward me with the syringe in his hand. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it would rip through my ribs. I couldn't breathe. I felt like a fish laid out on a cutting board, helpless, exposed, waiting for the blade to slice me open. My body shook with panic. My breaths came faster and faster until I could barely get air into my lungs. I locked eyes with Adrian, forcing the words out, my voice trembling but sharp like broken glass. Why, Why was there an organ donor agreement hidden in the surgery papers I just signed? The anesthesiologist froze, mid-step, turning to look at Adrian with a flicker of confusion. Adrian didn't move at first. For just one heartbeat, his entire body went rigid. But then, he smiled. That slow, careful smile that used to make me feel safe, but now made my skin crawl. His eyes narrowed, like he had just figured out his next move. "So, you regret signing it," he sighed, adding just the right amount of fake concern to his voice. "Organ donation is voluntary, Sarah. If you've changed your mind, all you have to do is say so. We can file a cancellation request with the hospital." He took a step closer, voice soft like he was trying to comfort me. "But please don't overthink this. No one here wants to hurt you. Let's just get the surgery over with, okay?" The anesthesiologist jumped in quickly, like they'd done this before. "She might be delusional," he offered. But Adrian turned to him with that warning look, sharp, cutting, but never raising his voice. That's what made Adrian so dangerous. He didn't need to shout. He knew how to twist the truth so subtly that anyone listening would start to doubt themselves. He was a master at making me look unstable, like I was the problem. He sighed again, like a man carrying the weight of the world. "Enough," he muttered, as if he were doing me a favor by letting me speak this long. "We really can't afford any more delays." And just like that, they both started moving toward me again. Is this it? Did I really come back just to die the same way all over again? Number, absolutely not. I wasn't going down like this. Not again. The moment the anesthesiologist reached for me, I gathered every last bit of strength left in my broken body and shoved him away. My hand shot out, grabbing a scalpel from the tray beside me. I pressed the blade against my throat without hesitation. "Let me go," I said coldly, my voice steady and razor-sharp. I turned to Adrian, my rage burning so bright I felt like I could set the entire room on fire with just my stare. "If you don't, tomorrow's headlines will read, 'Hospital director drives patient to suicide on his own operating table.'" My wound had reopened. Blood was pouring from my side again, soaking through the thin hospital gown. The pain was unbearable, but I didn't flinch. I didn't move. I couldn't afford to. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating. Adrian hesitated for just a moment, but then, like he always did, he pulled himself together. He took off his gloves, raised his hands like he was calming a wild animal, and spoke softly. "Sarah, please, just calm down." He nodded toward the gurney near the door. "I'll let you transfer, I promise. Just lie down on that stretcher and we'll get you out of here safely, okay? You're bleeding too much. Please, stop moving." To anyone watching from the outside, he probably looked like the perfect husband, concerned, desperate to save me. But I knew better. I knew what he really was, a monster hiding behind a soft voice and kind eyes. And the moment I let my guard down, the moment I laid back on that bed, they'd sedate me. I knew it. I pressed my back against the cold wall, the rough surface tearing at my skin. Pain blurred my vision. Sweat trickled down my spine. But I didn't dare move. I couldn't afford to fall. Second by second, the tension grew heavier. I could see it in his face, the cracks starting to show. Because the longer this dragged out, the higher the risk. Madison, his perfect angel, the one waiting just on the other side of that wall, she was running out of time. She would die without my heart. That's when I saw it. The flicker in his eyes, desperation. He tried again. Softer, sweeter, like every word was dipped in honey. "Sarah, please don't do this. You're in critical condition. We need to operate right now. Even if you don't care about yourself, at least care about me." His voice broke, shaking with fake emotion. "If something happens to you, how am I supposed to live with that?" His eyes shimmered, like he was on the verge of tears. But I wasn't falling for it, not this time. Every word, every tear, was a trap. I looked him dead in the eyes. "If you really care about me, open that damn door." I turned to the anesthesiologist, my voice slicing through the room like a blade. "Doctor, let me make this clear. This surgery isn't happening. If you try to keep me here, I will slit my own throat. Think about your family. Think about your license. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life cleaning up this mess?" before the anesthesiologist could even process what I said. Adrian broke. "All right," he snapped. "Don't do anything stupid." He rushed to the door, fumbled with the lock, threw it open. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost gave out. I tightened my grip on the scalpel, and despite the pain, I ran. I barely made it past the doorway when the screaming started. I could feel my blood soaking through the thin hospital gown, dripping onto the floor with every step I took. Somewhere to my left, someone gasped, "She's bleeding! Someone call a doctor!" The nurses froze for a split second, their eyes wide with panic, before one of them rushed toward me with shaking hands, trying to reach for my arm. "Please, ma'am, let me help you. I'll find a doctor right away." I shook my head, my voice cracking. "No, I don't need a doctor." And then I heard him, Adrian's voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "Sarah, stop!" My whole body stiffened. Without thinking, I shoved the nurse aside, clenched my teeth, and ran, or tried to. I barely made it 2 steps before he caught me. He moved fast, blocking my path, spreading his arms wide like he was trying to protect me. "Sarah, please calm down. Your life is worth more than any of this. Let's just go back. Let's finish the surgery, please." I could feel every pair of eyes on us, the whispers starting to rise. People gathering, curious, nosy, staring like this was some kind of scene from a TV drama. And then right there in front of everyone, Adrian dropped to his knees. "This is a hospital, Sarah. No one wants to hurt you. Trust me. Let's just get this over with, okay?" The hallway was filled with gasps. Is that the doctor? On his knees? What's going on? Are they a couple?" More whispers, more judging, more eyes. Then the anesthesiologist pushed through the crowd. He didn't even try to hide it this time. His voice was just loud enough for everyone to hear. "She's his wife, delusional, refusing treatment." And just like that, the air shifted. They pitied him. They hated me. She probably watched too many medical dramas. She should be in psych, not here. Poor guy, begging his crazy wife in front of everyone. I stood there, covered in blood, my vision burning, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the scalpel. Their words hit harder than any blade ever could. Adrian looked up at me again, his expression soft, almost perfect, too perfect. "Sarah," he whispered, like it broke his heart, "do you really hate me that much? That you'd rather die?" Then louder, voice cracking like he was on the verge of breaking down. "Please, just listen to me. I'll do whatever you want. Just let us help you, please." That's when a woman's voice cut through the crowd. "Don't fight him anymore, honey. He's your husband. He's just trying to help." My vision blurred. I could feel the tears running down my face, hot and bitter. I couldn't stop them. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "You don't know anything," I screamed. "He's not trying to save me. He's trying to kill me." But before anyone could process what I had just said, Adrian lunged. He grabbed my wrist, ripping the scalpel from my hand. "Now, hold her down," he shouted. The anesthesiologist and the nurses rushed in, grabbing me, shoving me back toward the gurney. I thrashed. I screamed. I fought like a trapped animal. "Let me go, Adrian. Let me go." He leaned over me, his voice shaking as he tried to sound like he cared. "Sarah, stop. You're critical. If we wait any longer..." His voice cracked again. "You're my wife. I can't just watch you die." I glared up at him, my voice low and sharp, every word burning with fury. "If you're standing beside a demon like me, you're already dead." I could feel the heat of his breath, the tension in his body. My hands clenched tighter, my fingers wrapping around the scalpel still in his grip. I held on like my life depended on it. Maybe it did. His expression darkened. The act dropped. The begging stopped. His voice went cold, like ice in my veins. "You're just buying time, aren't you?" My blood turned to stone. I felt his hand shift, saw something flicker in his eyes. That same calculating look, that same cold, sharp focus. And before I could even scream, Adrian twisted the scalpel in his hand and drove it straight into my left eye. I remember the sound, the way the blade sliced through flesh and bone, the way the world exploded into white-hot pain. I felt blood pour down my face, blinding me, choking me. I collapsed to the floor, screaming, thrashing, drowning in pain I didn't even know was possible. "She's losing too much blood. Oh my God, her eye, the blood." Get security. Now! Adrian dropped to his knees beside me, his hands shaking. He reached toward me, then pulled back like he couldn't bear to touch the damage he had just done. But to me, he looked like a monster, a nightmare dressed in surgical scrubs. I crawled backward, my body shaking, blood soaking through everything. Don't touch me. My voice broke, torn apart by agony. Don't come near me. Adrian flinched like my words had stabbed him in the heart. But I didn't care. I would rather die than let him lay another hand on me again. I don't know what broke me more, his words or the way he said them. You really don't trust me, do you? Adrian dropped to his knees again, his voice rough and broken, his eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept in days. I'll agree to anything, anything. Just, please don't hurt yourself anymore. Sarah, I'm begging you. And that was all it took to sway the crowd. His act was perfect, and the people watching bought every second of it. Some of the women nearby even started tearing up. I could hear them whispering behind their hands, pitying him, blaming me. Look at Dr. Taylor. He looks completely destroyed. How does a man like him end up with someone like her? If I had a husband that devoted, I'd never let him go. She must be crazy, acting like this in public. They say he spoils her too much. No wonder she's turned out this way. They didn't know anything. They didn't want to know. They just stood there, judging, feeding off the drama like vultures circling a corpse. I could feel the pain rising again, tearing through every inch of me. My strength was gone. My hand slipped away from my face, blood still pouring from the empty socket where my eye used to be. No one was coming to save me, not even me. What a cruel joke. To be given a second chance, only to realize I was still powerless to protect myself. I heard Adrian's voice crack with false pain, but instead of breaking down, I let out a breathless, broken laugh. You win, I whispered. Take this life. It's yours. I felt everything start to slip again. Darkness closing in, my body shutting down. I was ready to let go. This was it. But just as I started to fall, I felt his arms wrap around me. He lifted me off the ground like I weighed nothing, holding me close as his voice rose above the noise. I know you don't trust me, Sarah, so I brought someone else. Another surgeon. You'll be all right. Stay with me, please. I blinked, trying to focus. What did you say? I called in another surgeon, he said again, running down the hall with me in his arms. Sarah Diaz, you have to stay with me. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital bed. The room was white, quiet, sterile. The faint smell of disinfectant filled the air. My wounds had been cleaned, bandaged. Even the area around my eye was carefully padded. Sunlight streamed through the window, soft and golden. For a moment, I almost believed it had all been a nightmare, but then he walked in. Adrian stepped through the door, looking exhausted. His eyes still red, like he hadn't stopped worrying for even a second. He moved toward my bed, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah, you're awake. Are you still in pain? He looked lost, searching for the right words. I'm sorry, he added softly. I didn't do enough to make you feel safe, but I'll do better, I promise. He sat down beside me and gently took my hand. The hospital lights made his skin look pale, his face drawn with exhaustion. He looked human, too human. But as I stared at him, everything from before came rushing back. The scalpel, the blood, the eye, the pain, the betrayal. And then, the moment he saved me. Why now? Why save me after everything? I barely found my voice. Why did you save me? He met my gaze without hesitation. Because you're my wife, Sarah. He said it like it explained everything, like it was the most natural thing in the world. He squeezed my hand again, as if that was supposed to comfort me. I closed my eyes, and it hit me. His voice, his lies, his betrayal. I remembered everything. I remembered him standing over me in my last life, cold and calculated, waiting to take my heart for Madison Lee, the woman he had always truly loved. So why? Why now? Had he really changed? Did he actually regret what he'd done? I opened my mouth again, this time sharper. How's Madison? I felt his hand tighten slightly around mine, just for a second. And then too quickly, too smoothly, he smiled. Sarah, Don't think about anything else right now. You need to rest. You need to heal." He paused, and the weight of his next words felt heavier than anything he'd ever said. "The delusions you're experiencing, they're part of a mental illness, but with the right treatment, it can be cured." My ears started ringing. My entire body went rigid. In that moment, I understood. He hadn't saved me out of love. He hadn't called in another surgeon because he regretted what he did. He just needed me silent, forever. A hospital bed, a diagnosis, a padded room instead of a funeral. That was his new plan, to turn my fight for survival into nothing more than a psychotic episode. I used every bit of strength I had left to pull my hand out of his, and in that moment, everything became crystal clear. The scene I caused yesterday, it ruined everything for him. Adrian couldn't quietly get rid of me on the operating table anymore. Not after what I did. Not after what the public saw. So instead, he changed his approach. He let me fall apart in front of everyone. Let me scream. Let me bleed. Let me look completely unhinged. Now all he had to do was play the role of the heartbroken, devoted husband, while I got painted as unstable, delusional, dangerous. I see it now. He's trying to lock me away. And once I'm locked up in a psych ward, if I die in there, no one will question it. It'll be understandable. Just another tragic case of untreated mental illness. I stared at Adrian like I was seeing him for the first time. My voice was steady, cold. "Easier for you if I disappear into psych, isn't it?" Adrian flinched, his face going pale, his lips parted, but all that came out was a shaky whisper. "Sarah, why would you think that? That's not what I never." "You really mean it, though." The voice didn't come from him. It came from the door. We both turned at the same time. Madison Lee stood there, pale, fragile, but smiling like she had already won. Her eyes locked on mine. She didn't blink. She didn't need to. That smile was soft, sweet even, but underneath it carried something sharper, colder, triumphant. "Why don't you just tell her, Adrian?" she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. "We've been planning this for years, haven't we? Isn't this exactly how we set it up?" I stared at them both, my head spinning, and then it all started to come back, pieces falling into place. 7 years ago, I had been hospitalized for something minor. I was placed in a shared recovery room with his grandmother. He hadn't visited much back then. Always busy, always absent. So I did what I could. I sat with her, fed her, talked to her, made her laugh. She used to hold my hand and smile. "You're such a sweet girl. You should marry my grandson." Adrian used to brush it off, laughing softly. "Grandma, don't say things like that," he'd reply, polite but distant, formal. But then, one day, I helped him organize some of her medical files. After that, something changed. He started showing up more, bringing me snacks, flowers, offering to drive me home. Slowly, steadily, his walls came down. One afternoon, his grandmother sighed and took my hand. "That foolish boy likes you, you know." Too shy to say it. "Absolutely useless," she muttered, shaking her head. Adrian had been pretending not to listen. He just glanced away awkwardly while she added, "He can't even get himself a proper girlfriend." And after that, he started pursuing me, respectfully, sweetly. One hand holding flowers, the other holding pastries. This tall, confident man would stoop down on busy sidewalks just to tie my shoelaces. He'd wait outside my workplace for hours, never complaining, never once making me feel like a burden. Back then, Adrian Taylor was a rising star. Young, handsome, rich. Every woman in the hospital wanted him. No one could have imagined that the golden boy of the medical world was too shy to chase after the girl he liked. That contrast, it pulled me in. Hard. It didn't take long before I fell for him, too. By the end of that year, he took me to see the fireworks. Under a sky full of light, he looked at me like I was his whole future. "Sarah, give me a chance. Let me take care of you." And I had said yes, tears in my eyes. He held me like I was something precious. For 2 years, he did everything right. Posting pictures of us on social media. Hanging our photos in his car, calling me every time he traveled. Even when he was exhausted, he'd come home and cook for me himself. And then, we got married. He never changed. never faltered. I thought I had found the perfect man. It wasn't until I was dying in my last life that I saw the truth. The shift in him, the moment he really started pursuing me, didn't come from love. It came from blood. My blood. A B negative, the same as hers. Madison Lee. One of the rarest matches. And the first requirement for a successful heart transplant is blood type compatibility. The moment he saw that, he made his choice. Not for love, not for kindness, for compatibility. The weight of it all crashed down on me. I blinked slowly, forcing myself to look him in the eye. So, even the start of us was a lie. Madison smiled wider, tilting her head like she already had the last word. "Give it up, Sarah," she whispered softly. "You have no chance of changing anything now." My voice dropped to a low growl. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she pulled out her phone, typed something, then tossed it onto the bed in front of me. I picked up the phone Madison had tossed onto my bed. And there it was, burning bright at the top of the trending list. A viral post from one of the girls who had pitied Adrian in the hallway yesterday. The caption read, "The scariest moment of my life." And the video played automatically. There I was, drenched in blood, wild-eyed, clutching a scalpel, screaming like a lunatic at Adrian as he knelt before me. My wounds made me look monstrous. My pain had become proof of my madness. Adrian was sobbing in the clip, begging me to calm down. And the girl narrated the whole thing as if she knew me personally, writing, "This poor doctor's wife is clearly delusional. She believes her husband is trying to kill her." And then she stabbed herself in the eye. At the end, she added, "If you or someone you love is struggling with mental illness, please continue treatment. Don't endanger others, especially the people who love you." I scrolled down and saw the comments, each one worse than the last. People were calling me crazy, begging Adrian to lock me away, calling him a saint for putting up with me. Thousands of likes, thousands of shares. The internet had turned into a weapon, and I was the target. My hands started to shake as I held the phone, realizing just how perfectly Adrian had played this. Even after being given a second chance, I hadn't come close to finding real proof. And now, no matter what I did or said, no one would believe me. They'd say I was delusional. Again. I had no family, no allies. If Adrian wanted me locked away, there wouldn't be anyone left to stop him. Once I was in that psych ward, I'd never get out. I clenched my fist so hard that my nails broke the skin, blood rising to the surface. My breathing grew shallow. What the hell was I supposed to do now? Madison's voice broke the silence. "If you behave," she said softly, almost sweetly, "maybe I'll make sure it doesn't hurt too much." She smiled, raising her eyebrows like she'd already won. "Adrian," I whispered, cutting through the tension. He turned to me. "Is that what you think too?" He looked away, his shoulders tightening as he dropped his head. "Sarah," he whispered, "I'm sorry, I can't lose her. I can't lose Madison." "So you're trading my life for hers?" I screamed, my voice raw with rage and heartbreak. He didn't answer. He couldn't even look at me, but Madison did. She looked me dead in the eyes, cold and victorious. And then, the anger drained from me, replaced by something terrifyingly calm. I looked at Adrian again, my voice steady. "Let me see your grandmother, one last time." His body stiffened. "I won't say anything," I added. "Even if I did, it wouldn't change anything, would it?" He hesitated. He studied me carefully for what felt like forever. Then, finally, he nodded. Before they left, Madison turned back and gave me one last cruel smile. 2 days later, Adrian brought her in, his grandmother, the only person in this entire world who had ever truly shown me kindness. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. "My sweet Sarah, what happened to you?" She rushed to my bedside, her frail hands trembling as she reached for mine. "You're hurt so badly. Tell me what happened. Has Adrian been taking good care of you?" And just like that, I broke. Every bit of pain, humiliation, and fear I'd bottled up came pouring out of me in silent sobs. I held on to her like she was my last anchor in a world that had turned to ash. I cried until my body went numb, until I couldn't breathe, until everything blurred into black and white. She had been the only one who remembered my favorite meals, who sent me care packages from the countryside, who noticed when I was curled up in pain every month. Even when she lived far away, even when she didn't belong in this city, she never forgot me. But Adrian was her blood. I was just the girl she used to like. Would she believe me? Would she help me? Could I really risk it all on that? I didn't know, but I had no one else left to bet on. Sarah, you've been treated unfairly, haven't you? Her voice pulled me out of the chaos in my head. Adrian's grandmother reached for me, her rough, trembling hands brushing gently over the swollen skin around my injured eye. I might be old, but I'm not stupid, she whispered softly. That boy, he's been hurting you, hasn't he? She looked at me, eyes kind but sharper than I'd ever seen them, focused and clear. All these years you've been good to him, patient, respectful. You've honored me. She squeezed my hand tighter. I don't know what exactly happened, but I do know this. You're still the same Sarah I've always loved. And Adrian, he doesn't deserve you. My throat tightened, the words sticking somewhere deep. And before I could stop myself, the tears came again, silently spilling down my face. She pulled me into her arms, and I broke. Completely, I told her everything. Every disgusting detail, every twisted truth. And when I finally finished, she was trembling. That bastard, she hissed, voice shaking. How did our family end up with something so vile? She held my face in both hands, tears filling her eyes. Do you think I can't tell right from wrong? She whispered. How could he treat you like this? Her gaze drifted, her voice growing heavier with memory. When that girl got sick, Madison, Adrian didn't have the money to save her, so she left him. Left the country with some other man like it meant nothing. She squeezed my hand again. After she left, Adrian begged me, got down on his knees, asked me to sell everything his parents left him so he could start over. He built himself back up, little by little. I thought he'd moved on. Her face darkened. I never imagined. He'd use you. She looked at me again, and the guilt in her voice broke something inside me. You've always been good, so kind, so gentle. And now, our family owes you a debt we can never repay. I buried my face in her shoulder, sobbing harder than I ever had in my life. She stroked my hair, whispering softly, "Don't be afraid. I'll help you." We had barely begun to breathe again when the door burst open. Adrian stepped in, carrying Madison in his arms, pale, fragile, perfect. And right behind them came the crowd. Reporters, influencers, doctors from the psychiatric ward. Camera flashes exploded in my face. Microphones shoved toward me, voices attacking from every direction. "Miss Diaz, is it true you're mentally unstable? Can you explain what it feels like to believe someone's trying to hurt you? Why would someone with your condition marry a respected man like Dr. Taylor?" The questions kept coming, fast and brutal, and before I could even form a single word, Madison's soft voice rose above the noise. "Because she hates me." Every head turned. Madison shrank under my glare, stepping back like she was afraid, then collapsed into Adrian's arms and started to cry on cue. "She's the one who came between us," she sobbed, voice shaking with perfectly measured heartbreak. "I had to leave the country for treatment, and she found Adrian, forced herself into his life. She wouldn't let him go. She threatened him, said she'd hurt his grandmother if he didn't choose her. She even drugged him so he couldn't fight back." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers turned into a frenzy. Cameras snapped faster, voices leaning in, hungry for more. Madison clung to Adrian, her voice cracking with fake emotion. "Adrian's a good man. He stayed with her because he felt responsible, because he cared. But her condition's only gotten worse. And now, she's hurting other people." The comments started flying, the flashes doubled. The questions turned back to me, sharper than before. "Miss Diaz, is any of that true? Did you really threaten Dr. Taylor's grandmother? Are you willing to go for a psychiatric evaluation today?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because right then, it all made sense. This was their plan, their final move. They wanted to be together, but they needed the world to feel sorry for them first. And right now, Adrian's reputation had never been better. He was the perfect husband, the man who stayed by his broken wife's side, the tragic hero. If they went public too soon, they'd be destroyed. But if I was proven insane first, then he'd look merciful. He looked like he had no choice. This press conference, this entire circus, it was all staged, and I was the scapegoat. The reporters turned to the last person in the room who hadn't spoken yet. "Ma'am, can you confirm what Miss Lee just said?" Adrian moved quickly, wrapping an arm around his grandmother's shoulder. "Of course it's true. Right, Grandma?" And that's when I noticed it. His hand, squeezing her shoulder, his face tight with anticipation, but mostly confident. Because he was sure. He was sure she would protect him, her only grandson. Adrian's grandmother looked at him, and for a long moment, the only thing I could see in her eyes was sadness. Then, slowly, she turned toward the cameras, lifted her chin, and spoke. "Everything she said is true. Sarah is not mentally ill. You've all been fooled by the two of them." The room exploded into chaos. Adrian's confident facade shattered instantly as he stumbled forward, his voice cracking with panic. "Grandma, what are you saying? Did Sarah threaten you? Tell them she forced you to say that." Madison rushed to his side, just as desperate, her voice trembling with fake fear. "Yes, she's dangerous. Don't be scared, Grandma. We're here to protect you. She can't hurt you while everyone's watching." I sat up in the hospital bed, every muscle in my body screaming in pain, my vision blurry, but I stared at them, both of them. My voice cut through the noise, cold, steady, and clear. "Don't you dare touch her." With the last bit of strength I had, I lifted my arm and shielded Adrian's grandmother behind me. Then I turned back toward the cameras, meeting every lens dead on. Calm, cold, clear. From the very beginning, I was never insane. I was never delusional. A reporter shouted back, "Then why did you lose control at the hospital?" I raised my hand and pointed straight at Madison. "Because she has a heart condition, and my heart was a perfect match for hers. Right before the surgery, my husband, Adrian Taylor, didn't check my injuries. He tricked me into signing an organ donation consent form instead." Adrian's face turned ghostly pale. "She's lying. You can't believe a word from a lunatic like her." I locked eyes with him, watching the panic start to consume him. And then, I smiled. Just a little. "Am I lying, Adrian? Didn't you start pursuing me the second you saw my medical file? Because I'm AB negative, just like your perfect little angel over there." I took a step closer. "You pretended to care. You used that to get me to do health screenings. But what you were really doing was making sure I was a match." Adrian opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. "Don't bother denying it. The hospital still has the records." I leaned in, just enough for the cameras to catch every word. "And I already called the police. I'm sure your message history with Madison will be enlightening." I reached up, touching the bandage over my eye. "And this? I'm sure the doctors will have no trouble determining if this wound was self-inflicted or done by someone else." Reporters surged forward. The flashes doubled. The questions turned into a tidal wave. Were they planning a murder together? Did they stage the whole thing to steal Sarah's heart? This is inhumane. And then the crowd turned. Furious voices rose from the back of the room. "I defended that bastard? What the hell was I thinking?" "Rot in prison, both of them." Madison staggered backward, cornered by the crowd and the truth. Her face twisted with rage as she lost control. "Shut up, all of you," she screamed, spitting, thrashing. "Who the hell are you to judge me?" She turned, her face contorted with pure hatred. "And you old witch, how dare you betray us?" She lunged toward Adrian's grandmother. But I was faster. I moved, stepping in front of her, shielding the woman who had stood by me when no one else did. "Adrian, Madison, you brought this on yourselves, blinded by greed, driven by cruelty." Madison's face twisted into something unrecognizable, but the crowd had already turned on her. And then, the sound of sirens from outside. Police. Madison froze, her eyes widening with disbelief. "You actually called them?" I didn't answer. She turned to run, bolting for the exit. But she didn't get far. Seconds later, officers closed in on her, pinning her to the ground, cuffing her wrists, dragging her out of the room as she screamed my name over and over again. I turned back, slow and steady, locking eyes with Adrian. He stood frozen, pale, shaking. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. I just stared him down and whispered softly, just loud enough for him to hear. "You're next." I swear, the second the police showed up, the whole world just stopped. Adrian didn't say a word for the longest time. He just stood there, like everything inside him had finally snapped. And then, he laughed. Not loud, not crazy. Just this low, bitter laugh that crawled right under my skin. He looked at me with these dead eyes, like every single regret he'd ever carried had just caught up to him. "When you do something wrong, you have to pay for it," he whispered. And I swear to God, in that moment, I didn't know if I wanted to punch him or cry. His hands dropped to his sides, his fingers curling into fists like he was fighting himself. "Sarah, I was wrong. I know I was wrong." And then he paused, like he was trying to breathe, like something inside him was breaking apart, piece by piece. His voice shook when he finally spoke again. I want to ask one last thing." He didn't even look at his grandmother. He just stood there, staring at nothing. "When I'm gone, could you take care of her, just for a little while?" And I swear I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, I couldn't even feel anything. But his grandmother, God, that woman, she didn't even flinch. She stepped forward, raised her frail little hand, and slapped him. And when I say she slapped him, I mean I heard it, like thunder. Like every ounce of heartbreak in her body came out in that one hit. "You think you have the right to ask Sarah for anything?" she snapped. "After everything you've done, the only thing you should be doing is sitting in a cell, thinking about what you did, repenting, and staying the hell away from her. Forever." I couldn't even look at him after that. But when the police came to take him, I don't know what came over me. I called his name, and he turned around. God, the look on his face, like for 1 second, he thought I might forgive him, like he still had a chance, but I didn't. I couldn't. "I'll send the divorce papers in a few days," I told him, my voice cold as ice. "Make sure you sign them." And I swear, I watched something inside him die right there. His whole body just collapsed in on itself. His shoulders dropped. His face. God, his face. But after what felt like forever, he stood up straight. He nodded. "All right." He turned to leave, took one step toward the door, and then he stopped. He didn't look back. He didn't face me again. He just whispered, quiet, broken, "Sarah, I love you." And that nearly ruined me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Because that voice, that stupid, soft, broken voice, it was the same one that used to whisper me to sleep. The same one I used to hold on to like it was the only thing keeping me alive. All those nights, all those smiles, all those tiny quiet moments when I actually believed, when I swore to myself that he loved me, that we were real. But now? God, now I don't know. Maybe he loved me once. Maybe it was all a lie. But the truth? The truth doesn't even matter anymore, because what's done is done. The past is gone. It's just smoke now. Just something I used to hold on to when I didn't know better. So yeah, I'm done. I'm turning the page. And this time, I'm not doing it for him. Or for anyone else. I'm doing it for me. Because for the first damn time in my life, I'm choosing to love myself.